Jayardev, yes. So, what does Jivane Punya Darshini signify in the hymn? Jivane Punya Darshini translates to "You are the one who bestows virtue or punya in life." This phrase highlights Annapurna's role in purifying the soul of her devotees, leading them toward moral excellence and spiritual fulfillment. It suggests that her grace not only ensures the fulfillment of physical needs, but also the nurturing of a righteous and virtuous life. So, how does the hymn illustrate Annapurna's protective role? In the verses, especially in phrases like Annapurna Jagatam Mata and Bhaktavatsala, Annapurna is shown as a protective mother who cares for her devotees with love and compassion. She protects her followers from spiritual and material hardships by providing both sustenance and spiritual wisdom, thus ensuring that they remain safe and nurtured throughout their lives. What does the repeated invocation Namostute indicate about a devotee's relationship with the Annapurna? The phrase Namostute is a deep expression of reverence and surrender. It indicates that the devotee acknowledges Annapurna as a divine source of sustenance, bowing before her with the humility and gratitude. It's an expression of devotion and a plea for her blessings and protection, signifying the devotee's dependence on the goddess for both material and spiritual growth. How does the Annapurna Stotram encourage balance between material desires and spiritual pursuits? The Annapurna Stotram beautifully emphasizes that true fulfillment comes not just from material wealth, but from a life that is nourished by both worldly and spiritual blessings. By invoking Annapurna, the devotee seeks to balance the material world with spiritual aspirations, understanding that complete nourishment requires an harmonious integration of both. The hymn calls for spiritual awareness alongside the pursuit of worldly success, offering guidance on how to live a life that is both prosperous and spiritually fulfilling. Why is Annapurna referred to as Vishwadhara in the hymn? The term Vishwadhara refers to Annapurna as a cosmic supporter or sustainer of the universe. This phrase emphasizes that she holds the entire world together, ensuring its existence and growth as a provider of food and wisdom. She is seen as a mother figure who nurtures not only individuals but the entire cosmos, maintaining the balance of life and creation. What relevance does the Annapurna Stotram hold in the modern world? The Annapurna Stotram carries immense relevance in the modern world where people often find themselves pursuing material success while neglecting their spiritual needs. This hymn encourages us to seek a life that is holistically nourished physically, emotionally, and spiritually. In a time of stress, disconnection, and overconsumption, the Annapurna Stotram invites us to reconnect with the deeper sources of fulfillment, focusing not just on material wealth but also on the nourishment of the soul, the pursuit of wisdom, and the cultivation of inner peace. What is the ultimate spiritual lesson from the Annapurna Stotram? The ultimate lesson of the Annapurna Stotram is that true fulfillment comes from recognizing the divine within. Annapurna symbolizes both worldly abundance and spiritual growth. The hymn teaches us that when we align ourselves with the divine forces of nature, seeking both material nourishment and spiritual wisdom, we achieve a life of balance, prosperity, and liberation. Through reverence and devotion to Annapurna, we are reminded that spiritual nourishment is as important as physical sustenance, and by maintaining this balance, we can live a life that is complete and purposeful. What is the significance of the phrase Annapurnam in the Annapurna Stotram? The name Annapurna translates to she who is full of food or the one who is always full of nourishment. Annapurna symbolizes the divine provider of sustenance, both material and spiritual. The word Annapurna also evokes the idea of completeness in life. Just as food sustains the body, Annapurna sustains the soul, providing the divine nourishment necessary for growth and prosperity. How does the words Purnamai Dayalani relate to Annapurna's divine qualities? Purnamai Dayalani means full of mercy and compassion. This verse emphasizes that Annapurna is not just a goddess of material prosperity, but also a goddess of compassionate love and kindness. She offers both physical sustenance and emotional healing, filling her devotees with love and grace, thereby supporting them in their times of need, both materially and spiritually. What does the verse Jivani Purnamai teach about living a righteous life. The phrase Jivane Punya Darshini, it can be interpreted as you, Annapurna, bestow virtue or punya in life. This verse suggests that Annapurna helps her devotees lead a virtuous life. Her blessings guide individuals toward good deeds, leading them to spiritual fulfillment. It also highlights that by following a righteous path, one can attain divine favor and well being in both the world and the afterlife. How does the Annapurna Stotram address the connection between the material and spiritual worlds? The Annapurna Stotram beautifully integrates both material abundance and spiritual growth. By invoking Annapurna, the devotee seeks not only material nourishment but also divine wisdom and spiritual elevation. The hymn reinforces the belief that Annapurna sustains both the physical and the spiritual realms, illustrating that both must be in harmony for a complete and prosperous life. The hymn teaches us that nourishment from the divine must include both physical well being and spiritual enlightenment. What role does Annapurna play as a protector of her devotees? Annapurna is depicted as a divine mother and protector in the hymn. The line Bhaktavatsala describes her as a loving and compassionate protector who looks after the welfare of her devotees. She ensures that her followers are safe from physical hardships and spiritual ignorance. By offering her grace, she shields them from misfortune, providing a sense of security and comfort in both material and spiritual matters. How does the hymn highlight the importance of devotion or bhakti in the relationship with Annapurna? The repeated invocation of Namostate expresses deep devotion and surrender to Annapurna. It signifies that by submitting oneself to her divine grace, one can attain both material success and spiritual progress. The hymn encourages the practice of bhakti or devotional worship, emphasizing that through devotion to the goddess, the devotee can experience divine blessings and nourishment, achieving fulfillment in all aspects of life. Why is Annapurna associated with the sustenance of both the body and the soul? Annapurna, through her nature as a provider of food, symbolizes the divine energy that sustains both the body and the soul. While food sustains the physical body, the nourishment provided by Annapurna also strengthens the spirit by offering spiritual wisdom, protection, and grace. The hymn draws attention to the holistic view of nourishment, showing that true sustenance comes from both material abundance and spiritual wisdom. How does the hymn emphasize the importance of Annapurna in a devotee's life? The hymn emphasizes that Annapurna is the center of all material and spiritual nourishment. By repeatedly acknowledging her role as a provider of food, wisdom, and protection, the hymn underscores her importance as the ultimate source of blessings. It shows that devotees should turn to her for guidance and support, as she is the divine mother who fulfills the needs of all beings, ensuring that well being in every aspect of life. What does the request for Amritam nectar in the hymn represent spiritually? The request for Amritam or nectar represents the desire for immortality and spiritual wisdom. In Hindu philosophy, Amrita is the elixir of immortality, symbolizing the ultimate goal of spiritual liberation or moksha. By seeking Amrita, the devotee asks for the divine nectar that nourishes the soul, granting it eternal life and wisdom. This request indicates that true fulfillment goes beyond physical nourishment. It is also about attaining spiritual liberation. How does the Annapurna Stotram guide one towards spiritual fulfillment? The Annapurna Stotram provides a roadmap for achieving both material prosperity and spiritual fulfillment. It teaches that the goddess Annapurna is the source of everything essential for life, food, wealth, and wisdom. By worshipping Annapurna, a devotee acknowledges the need for balance in life where both material needs and spiritual growth are nurtured. The hymn encourages devotees to seek divine wisdom alongside physical sustenance, guiding them towards a peaceful, prosperous, and enlightened life. What does Purnamai, full of completeness, mean in the context of Annapurna's divine nature? Purnamai means full of completeness, highlighting that Annapurna is the embodiment of divine wholeness. She represents the totality of nourishment, both material and spiritual. This term signifies that she offers complete fulfillment to her devotees, not only in terms of food or wealth, but also in the deeper sense of spiritual peace and contentment. Annapurna's blessings ensure a well-rounded life that complete in every sense. How does the hymn reflect the concept of cosmic mother in Hinduism? Annapurna is often depicted as the cosmic mother in Hinduism, the divine feminine energy that sustains and nurtures all life. The hymn repeatedly addresses her as the mother of the universe, Jagata Mata, symbolizing the nurturing force that provides for all beings. Just as the mother cares for her children, Annapurna provides food, protection, and spiritual wisdom to her devotees, making her the ultimate source of all divine blessings. This reflects the Hindu belief that the universe itself is a manifestation of the Mother Divine. How does the Annapurna Stotram encourage an individual's dependence on divine grace? The hymn, by repeatedly invoking Annapurna, expressing reverence, encourages devotees to acknowledge that divine grace is the foundation of all sustenance, whether material or spiritual. The repeated requests for Annapurna's blessings indicate the humility and dependence of the devotee on her for every aspect of life. This reinforces the idea that human effort Yes, the human efforts alone are not enough. Only through the grace of the divine can one attain true prosperity, peace, and fulfillment. What role does gratitude play in the Annapurna Stotram? Gratitude plays a central role in the Annapurna Stotram as a devotee humbly acknowledges Annapurna's role in providing sustenance and spiritual wisdom. The frequent invocation of Namostate, I bow to you, expresses a profound gratitude for the goddess's blessings. This gratitude teaches the devotee to remain humble and recognize the divine hand in all aspects of life. By cultivating gratitude, the devotee strengthens their connection with the goddess and attracts her grace in return. What does Jaya Annapurna signify in the hymn? Jaya Annapurna translates to victory to Annapurna. This phrase is an expression of reverence and celebration of the goddess Annapurna's divine power and role as a provider of sustenance. By chanting this, the devotee acknowledges Annapurna's supreme role in ensuring the prosperity, nourishment, and well being of all beings, both materially and spiritually. It signifies a victory in life through the grace of Annapurna. How is Annapurna depicted as a giver of both material and spiritual abundance? Annapurna is seen as the goddess who provides both physical nourishment and spiritual enlightenment. She is not just a provider of food, but is also considered the source of divine wisdom. This dual role highlights that true prosperity is a balance of material and spiritual well being. This hymn emphasizes her power to bestow both material sustenance through food and wealth and spiritual growth through wisdom and liberation. What is the deeper significance of calling Annapurna Mahadevi in the Stotram? Mahadevi means the great goddess or the supreme goddess. By referring to Annapurna as Mahadevi, the hymn acknowledges her as the ultimate feminine divine force that governs both creation and sustenance in the universe. This title elevates Annapurna to the highest level of divine energy, associating her with the cosmic powers that maintain balance and harmony in the world. Why is Annapurna called Bhaktavatsala in the hymn? Bhaktavatsala means who is one who is affectionate and compassionate towards her devotees. The hymn calls Annapurna Bhaktavatsala to emphasize that she is not only the provider of physical sustenance but also a motherly figure who listens to the prayers and needs of her devotees. She shows great mercy, offering her blessings to those who approach her with love, devotion, and surrender. What role does food play in the Annapurna Stotram? Food is central to the hymn, symbolizing not only physical nourishment but also the divine grace that sustains life. As the goddess of food, Annapurna represents the importance of both material and spiritual nourishment. Her blessings ensure that individuals are never without sustenance, which allows them to focus on spiritual growth and fulfillment. By invoking Annapurna, devotees seek balance in life, ensuring they are both nourished physically and spiritually. How does the Sutram emphasize the importance of divine grace in a devotee's life? The repeated expressions of praise and surrender to Annapurna in the hymn indicate that the devotee recognizes the importance of divine grace in life. It reminds the devotee that material prosperity and spiritual growth come from the blessings of the goddess. The hymn encourages humility, acknowledging that human effort alone is insufficient to achieve fulfillment. Divine grace is needed to achieve true prosperity and peace. What is the significance of chanting the Annapurna Stotram in daily life? Chanting the Annapurna Stotram regularly helps to establish a connection with the goddess, inviting her divine presence into one's life. It cultivates feelings of gratitude, contentment, and devotion by invoking Annapurna's blessings. Individuals can attract material wealth, spiritual wisdom, and inner peace. It also serves as a reminder of the importance of both worldly and spiritual nourishment, encouraging a balanced life. How does the hymn connect Annapurna with the concept of abundance and prosperity? Annapurna is directly associated with abundance and prosperity. The hymn describes her as a goddess who fills the world with the essential food and resources necessary for life. Her name itself, Annapurna, signifies fullness and plenty, indicating that she ensures there is no lack in the world. By worshipping her, devotees seek both material wealth and spiritual fulfillment, asking for abundance in all aspects of their lives. How does the verse Annapurna Devi or Jagatam Mata express the universal motherly nature of Annapurna? The verse Annapurna Devi Jagatam Mata translates to Annapurna, the mother of the universe. This phrase highlights Annapurna as the universal mother, a nurturing figure who provides for all beings in the cosmos. Just as a mother nourishes her children with love and care, Annapurna nourishes the entire universe with the essentials needed for life, food, wisdom, and protection. This emphasizes the compassionate and all encompassing nature of the goddess. What is the connection between food and spirituality in the Annapurna Stotram? The Annapurna Stotram establishes a deep connection between food and spirituality, where food is seen as a sacred gift from the goddess. In Hinduism, food is not merely sustenance but is also considered a medium for spiritual growth. Offering food to the divine and receiving it as prasadam or blessed food is seen as a way to receive spiritual energy. Annapurna, as the goddess of food, symbolizes the spiritual nourishment needed for growth and enlightenment beyond just physical sustenance. What does the hymn teach about contentment and gratitude in life? The hymn emphasizes that contentment and gratitude are essential for a fulfilling life. By worshipping Annapurna and acknowledging her role as a source of sustenance, the devotee is reminded to be grateful for all they have, both materially and spiritually. Gratitude for the food we eat, the wisdom we receive, and the divine protection we enjoy fosters a sense of peace and contentment in one's life, which in turn attracts more divine blessings. How does the Annapurna Stotram promote a harmony between material and spiritual pursuits? The Annapurna Stotram teaches that material and spiritual pursuits are interconnected. While Annapurna is the provider of food, material sustenance, she also bestows wisdom or spiritual nourishment. The hymn encourages that one should not neglect either realm, as both are essential for a complete and prosperous life. Devotees are encouraged to seek balance, understanding that true happiness comes from the integration of both material and spiritual well being. How does the Annapurna Stotram serve as a reminder of divine protection? The hymn serves as a reminder that Annapurna not only provides for material needs but also protects the devotees from hunger, poverty, and suffering. Her divine protection ensures that devotees are shielded from misfortune and are blessed with health, peace, and prosperity. By invoking her grace, the devotees are sure that they will always have the protection and guidance necessary to overcome life's challenges. Why is it important to recognize Annapurna as a source of all nourishment? Recognizing Annapurna as a source of all nourishment highlights the holistic view of sustenance. She is not just the provider of physical food, but the giver of wisdom, health, and spiritual nourishment. This recognition encourages the devotee to appreciate the deeper significance of food and sustenance, understanding that true nourishment comes from the divine and should be treated with respect and gratitude. What does the repeated chant of Namostate signify in the Annapurna Stotram? The repeated chant of Namostate means I bow to you. This is an expression of humble surrender and devotion to the goddess. The repeated invocation signifies complete reverence, acknowledging Annapurna as a source of all goodness and grace. It teaches the importance of humility in seeking divine help and recognizing that all blessings come from the goddess. What is the significance of the line Annapurnam bhajate nityam in the hymn? Annapurnam bhajate nityam means one who worships Annapurna daily. This line emphasizes the importance of regular devotion and consistent worship of the goddess Annapurna. By worshipping her daily, devotees invite her grace, which brings both material abundance and spiritual fulfillment. The hymn encourages discipline in one's spiritual practices, ensuring that Annapurna's blessings are continuously experienced. How does the Annapurna Stotram address the needs of the poor and destitute? The hymn emphasizes that Annapurna is the goddess who provides food and sustenance to all, especially to those who are in need. The line Bhavani Bhakta Vatsale speaks to her compassionate nature, highlighting her care for the poor and destitute. Annapurna's divine grace is invoked to ensure that even the most deprived are nourished both physically and spiritually. Through her blessings, the need can find sustenance, shelter, and protection. How is Annapurna connected to the concept of prasadam? In the hymn, Annapurna is closely tied to the concept of prasadam, which refers to the food or offerings that are blessed by the deity. The Annapurna, as the goddess of food, is believed to bless the offerings made to her, transforming them into sacred prasadam. When devotees consume prasadam, it is considered a direct connection to the goddess's divine energy, bringing health, prosperity, and spiritual purification. It serves as a reminder that food, when offered with devotion, becomes spiritually enriching. Why is Annapurna considered the embodiment of compassion in the hymn? Annapurna is regarded as the embodiment of compassion due to her role as the provider of sustenance to all beings. The hymn repeatedly praises her unconditional care and love for her devotees, making her a compassionate mother figure, whether one is rich or poor. Her blessings ensure abundance for all. Her compassionate extends not just to physical nourishment but also to the spiritual upliftment of her followers. This deep empathy shows that she is the mother who nourishes both body and soul. How does the hymn encourage devotion to Annapurna for material success? The hymn highlights that devotion to Annapurna is key to achieving material success and prosperity. By surrendering to her divine grace, the devotee ensures that abundance in life, whether in terms of food, wealth, or success, flows continuously. It teaches that humility and devotion to Annapurna will bring the blessings necessary for success in one's personal and professional endeavors. This belief underscores that spirituality and material prosperity are intertwined when one's actions are guided by divine grace. What does the Stotram convey about the holistic nature of food and life? The Annapurna Stotram emphasizes that food is not merely a physical necessity, but a sacred and divine gift. It portrays food as a symbol of life's sustenance and spiritual energy given to us through the blessings of Annapurna. The hymn conveys that nourishing the body is as important as nourishing the spirit, and both are interdependent. Thus, food becomes a medium through which the devotee connects with the divine, making every meal an opportunity for reverence and gratitude. What role does Annapurna play in the lives of her devotees according to the Stotram? According to the hymn, Annapurna is seen as a nurturing and protective force in the lives of her devotees. She is the one who provides all the necessary resources for life, food, wisdom, and spiritual growth. She is the guardian who ensures that no one lacks sustenance, and through her divine blessings, devotees find peace, contentment, and fulfillment. She is both a provider and a protector, watching over the well being of her devotees in every aspect of life. What is the importance of surrendering to Annapurna's divine grace in the Stotram? The Stotram teaches that the true surrender to Annapurna's grace brings peace and prosperity. By submitting oneself completely to her, a devotee recognizes that their needs whether material or spiritual, are taken care of by the goddess. The hymn underscores that self effort alone is not sufficient for achieving success and peace. Instead, devotion and surrender to Annapurna's divine will lead to ultimate fulfillment and divine protection. This act of surrender leads to a life of abundance guided by divine wisdom. How is Annapurna related to the concept of dhana or wealth in the hymn? Annapurna is often associated with dhana or wealth as she is the goddess who ensures the prosperity and financial well being of her devotees. The hymn speaks of Annapurna as a provider not just of food but also of material wealth and success. By invoking her, devotees seek her blessings for financial stability, growth, and the ability to sustain a prosperous life. Her grace ensures that wealth comes not just in material form but also in the form of wisdom and spiritual fulfillment.